number 2, and away we do go. So it's Bloodstained Mire for John, and now it's in Urz's Tower into a chromatic sphere there for Joe Lossett. Lossett did win game number 1 there over Sauer. Sauer's going to search up a Watery Grave, untapped, so down to 17. And here comes the Thought Scour.
Not a big fan of this matchup from the Death Shadow side. They do a lot of fumbling around. It takes them sometimes a couple turns to kind of get out the door. Not necessarily a ton of interaction. And that can be a recipe for Tron to just get to make its land drops and start playing bigger stuff before you're really ready for it.
Oh, speaking of big stuff before you're ready for it, it's a Grumag Angler. There's a couple of draw steps there from the baubles will occur. We're going to head over to Lossett, who will crack a Chromatic Sphere for green mana, of course, drawing himself a new card. That's in Urz's Mind. This is a Sylvan Scrying that's going to get hit by Stubborn Denial. So, no Tron here for Joe via the Scrying. He can, of course, do it via the draw steps there. He just needs a power plant to be online, but it appears he doesn't have that, so here's an Expedition map. That will resolve. Joe will play a Forest and pass the turn back over to John. John's going to come in with the real big fish again. Lossett's going to fall down to 10. And now Joe's going to search up the power plant. So Tron will be online here for turn 4 for Lossett.
But I believe Sauer has another copy of Stubborn Denial along with a Disdainful Stroke in hand, and that just might be the game here if Lossett's next 2 turns are just tapping out for something big.
Well, that's what Tron does best, so we'll see what Lossett wants to lead with as he taps 7 mana. This is a Wormcoil Engine. There's the Disdainful Stroke that you mentioned, so that's taken care of. Chromatic Star is the follow-up. Crack the Star for a green. Draw a card. Play an Ancient Stirring. It's a very powerful card. Will resolve. Lossett's going to get a little bit deeper into the deck. There was an Ulamog among those cards, folks. So we'll see if Lossett does want to take that. He's also looking at a Thragtusk in those 5 cards. Can't select that one, but it is worth noting that Joe does have a main deck copy of Thragtusk here this weekend. Sauer's going to come in here for 5 more. Lossett's going to fall down to 5. There's Nile in there for John. We'll head back over to Joe. Joe will draw. He does have that Ulamog in hand. Doesn't look like he has another Tron piece. He'll play a Sanctum of Ugin.
Yeah, any Tron piece gets him there. But that is not any Tron piece.
So Joe's going to tap, looks like 8 mana. This is an attempted Karn. Trigger the Sanctum. John will let him search. And now there is the Stubborn Denial. Walking Ballista for 1. Gives Joe the opportunity to do a little bit of chump blocking, but a Kolaghan's Command will take care of that and the game. So John Sauer is going to win game number 2 here over Joe Lossett. Grixis Death Shadow and Mono Green Tron will get ready for a 3rd one.
And the big change there was Sauer not really fumbling around with the draw. I think the second turn Grumag Angler is really important in this matchup. You can't hold off Tron forever with a handful of Stubborn Denials and 1 Disdainful Stroke in your sideboard. So being able to get that Angler on turn 2 while getting to leave up Stubborn Denial, that's huge.
See Sauer going back to the drawing board a little bit. His sideboard does have 4 Leyline of the Void, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Kolaghan's Commands, 2 Abrade, 2 Collective Brutalities, 2 Liliana the Last Hope, and that Disdainful Stroke that was very key for him in that second game. We know the Stroke is in. You think anything else is here?
I wouldn't be surprised by Kolaghan's Command and or Abrade. Just some anti-artifact stuff. The Kolaghan's Command has other utility, but the Disdainful Stroke's definitely the best of the bunch.
For Lossett, it is 4 Nature's Claims, 2 additional copies of Thragtusk to go along with the 1 in the main deck, a Crucible of Worlds, another copy of Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. He actually has 2 in the main and 1 in the board, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon, 3 Surgical Extractions, and 3 Spatial Contortions. I expect the Thragtusk to be in.
And I also don't necessarily mind the Ulamog. I think when you're playing against Death Shadow, the more that you can convert your payoffs into creatures to avoid Stubborn Denial, I think is a pretty strong strategy. So I'd rather be a little bit less on, the Karns and Ugins of the world and a little bit more on creatures.
Fair enough. Well, both players are going to take a look at their openers. It's an Urz's Mine and into a Chromatic Sphere here for Lossett. Mirish's Bauble is where John Sauer will start. He'll take a look at his top card. Might want to fetch away the top card, depending on what it is. Delta plus another Bauble here means that he actually wants to keep this card. So Lossett's going to crack the Sphere, get a little bit of green mana. You see the white bordered forest? He'll play that. Now he'll play a copy of Ancient Stirrings. This allows him to play around Stubborn Denial. So he'll take a look at the top 5 cards. Lossett will now consult his hand before making a selection with the powerful sorcery. And the member of Team BCW will select Relic or Progenitus. He'll also try to deploy the artifact. That will work, and we'll head back over to Sauer, who's going to activate Mishra's Bauble again. You saw Joe activate the Relic. That's why the Mishra's Bauble that was in the graveyard is now off the screen, because Joe wants to get to work on the graveyard a little bit here as well. Sauer's going to fetch away what he looked at with the Bauble, so a fresh card coming here for John on his turn, as well as his draw step, so he'll see 2 new ones. And he'll actually Thought Scour himself, so a couple of new cards here as he fills up the graveyard very quickly, something Death Shadow has absolutely no problem doing.
Yep. Unfortunately, flipped over 2 anglers there. See if he has one in hand, but I think it's really important for him to be able to get on the battlefield quickly here before Lossett gets to Tron.
Here is a Thoughtseize that'll target Joe Lossett. You'll take a look at his hand. There's a Thragtusk, an Ugin, a Wormcoil Engine, a Chromatic Sphere, and a Chromatic Star. So Joe's hand actually not great right now.
Yeah, a bunch of redraws here, but no land drop for next turn, and no deterministic path to getting to Tron.
Well, you said that John needed an angler to kind of get things going. He's got one. So Joe's going to play the Sphere and crack it, draw a card, found a Forest, play a Star, play the Forest. Does he want to crack the Relic or the Star? He'll do neither and just pass the turn back. A Water Grave untapped, an Angler attack. Looks like it's 10 to 15 as we head back over to Lossett. Lossett will crack the Star. Picked up a copy of Urza's Tower. That's a powerful one, to be sure.
Yeah, even just natural land drops of Thragtusk here would be fine from Lossett's perspective.
Now he'll blow the Relic. There is the Tower of Power. Here comes the Angler. So I believe Lossett should be down to 10 now after that attack, and he is. Sauer with a copy of Thought Scour. And Thought Scour and Temur Battle Rage will go into the graveyard. Now here is a Street Wraith that'll be cycled. John down to 8. Delta, pass the turn back. Joe, does he have the power plant? Looks like he doesn't. He's got Urza's Mine. Now a hard cast the Thragtusk. Disdainful Stroke will take care of that. Sauer's going to sacrifice a fetch land, get himself a Steam Vents. Disdainful Stroke looking very good out of the sideboard here for John.
Yeah, just a 1-up, but this deck's got a lot of cantripping.
Temur Battle Rage will get it done. Doesn't have that. We're just going to play an island, pass the turn back. So Joe's got another turn to play here, folks. But does he have something to do with the time that he's been given? He'll try to resolve a Thragtusk.
Thragtusk looks like it's going to play here.
Okay. A Braid will take care of the front half. Joe's at 10. Got a Beast Token on the way. There's a block very quickly. Joe wants to keep his life total high until he can actually resolve the Tron. Here's an attempt with a Sylvan Scrying that could be Stubborn Denial. Might have to Stubborn Denial.
Letting this resolve when Lossett could follow up with a creature here seems unnecessarily risky. I would fight over this.
Well, looks like John will. Now here's another Sylvan Scrying. That will resolve. So Joe will go get the Busy Bee. There enters his power plant. Hasn't played a land yet for the turn. There's his land. Pass the turn back. Joe's hoping to fade a Temur Battle Rage here, folks. There's an Inquisition of Kozilek. Joe's going to lose his Nature's Claim. Ugin and Karn in hand means that something very powerful is coming here for Lossett. He's at 5. The question is, which threat does he want to play? Because there's a Sanctum of Ugin.
I mean, your ideal here is try to resolve a creature, because then you don't have to worry about Stubborn Denial. Failing that, is there a way to try to resolve 2 things that matter this turn with Sanctum of Ugin? That might be asking too much.
Here is Karn, Sanctum of Ugin trigger.
Now, if this resolves, you're in easy mode. You get rid of the Angler, and then, from there, the game should be not that hard to wrap up.
Walking Ballista is what Sanctum of Ugin found. Karn's going to enter the battlefield, take care of the Angler. That's why it's down to 3. And now John Sauer is in some trouble. Looks like we might have to find some Lightning Bolts. But how many Lightning Bolts are actually in the deck, Patrick?
0 in the 75.
Well, that answers that. I know the players have started dialing those back. Lightning Bolt not great in this format right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't kill Thing in the Ice.
Not good in the mirror, really.
Not particularly good against Dredge.
Yeah.
So there's a good reason to not play very many of that card.
I'll say Sauer's sideboarded Braids have sucked this game.
They've been
really bad. And I think the anti-artifact measures against Tron are really hit and miss. They have moments of being good, obviously, but often it's just stuff that cycles through and you never get an opportunity to use your Abrade, or it's something so big that even if you kill it right away, too much damage has been done.
Ah, yes, we're in this motive now.
There it is.
Hardcast Street Wraith, one of my favorites. As Joe Lossett's going to get this game done with his powerful planes.